Hello everyone. So should you attempt this exam in 2026? If you're preparing only for the last 1 year, or if you have just entered into civil service preparation in the year 2025, so should you be attempting the prelims in 2026? Let me answer this question through this lecture today. Before that, I would like to show you some statistics which are officially released by UPSC itself, right? So that's the curve that you can actually see. That's the graph that you can see here on the screen. So let's have a detailed look into this graph. What is it conveying to us? The answer for your question, whether you should be attempting this year or not, lies in this graph. So when you look at this graph, you'll understand that this blue line indicates how many aspirants appear in prelims, right? What percentage of aspirants have appeared in prelims. So if you're a first timer, 50% aspirants who appear in prelims are attempting prelims for the first time, right? And around 20% aspirants who appear are in their second attempt, right? So which means that there is a sharp fall. So aspirants just give one attempt and they quit this process. And when it comes to third attempt, it's just 15%. So which means 85% of the aspirants do not last beyond their second attempt. That's what the statistics say, right? So 85% of the aspirants appearing in civil service examination just give 2 attempts. After that, they quit. This is a point that you'll have to keep in your mind, right? So majority of those who are asking me this question, should you be attempting your prelims in 2026? The statistics say that 85% of you guys will not be lasting in this exam beyond the second year. You will be quitting it after the first or second attempt. And if this is discouraging, let me give you another statistics from the same graph, which is about the success rate. So if you are appearing civil service exam prelims for the very first time, how many first attempters actually end up cracking this exam? So this is the statistics as per 2021. So as per 2021 trends, just 8% of the aspirants who crack this exam are first attempters, right? Maybe in 2023, I think there is one more graph like this, which shows that around 10% of those who crack belong to the first attempt category. And trust me, who are these 10%? Who are these 10% who make it in their very first attempt? Maybe a lot of IITians, IIM students, MBBS graduates, chartered accountants, lawyers from national law schools, or maybe those who do not come in this category, but who have already put in some 2 or 3 years of their preparation before they have even given their first attempt. Or it could be those aspirants who are completely done with their means preparation, who know how to speak well, who know how to write well. And this is the category who actually crack in their very first attempt, which is the 10% at the maximum of those who crack this examination, right? So understand, 85% of those who appear in this exam do not go beyond their second attempt. And only 10% at the max crack this exam in their first attempt. This itself should be giving you an answer for the question if you should be appearing in civil service exam 2026 or not, if you have just recently enrolled in preparation process. If you have newly joined in an academy in the year 2025, these two graphs should be pointing out to you about what chances of success do you have, right? So does it mean that I'm asking you not to give civil service exam 2026? No, that's not the answer. All I'm reflecting is the concern of this coach in this movie $1 Million Baby, if you have watched it, right? So you should be watching it if you were to understand why a coach actually has a concern towards a student. It's a concern that very suitable aspirants may quit after the first year or second year, right? So if you watch this movie, you'll understand that this hero of this movie is Clint Eastwood, right? He's a legendary Hollywood actor. So he portrays a character he's basically a boxing coach in this movie, right? And he's very reluctant to let his students go and start professional fights early in their career. He wants them to be properly trained and then meet their opponent for the first time, right? So the students, many times they'll not be able to understand his concern. So they feel that this man is dragging them down. They go early, get beaten down, and permanently they quit boxing once for all. So that's the concern that this coach has in this entire movie. And his concern finally is proved right as well, right? So she's the actress, and she's more obedient than most other students. Most of the students will just disobey him. They go to the fight, they get beaten, and they finally quit the process. But she does listen to him. But still, she keeps on persuading him to let her fight, let her meet real opponents instead of just fighting and practicing in the ring, right? And he has no other option than to listen to her. So finally, she starts fighting, and what he fears the most actually happens. She becomes crippled for life. She becomes permanently disabled. It is the same concern that I have towards those aspirants who are not even 1 year into preparation and who keep asking me this question if they should appear in the year 2026 or not. The only concern is, are you resilient enough? Can you just overcome your failure and rise up after 2026 prelims if you don't clear this examination? If you can, yes, just go and give your attempt. But from my experience, I find very few aspirants will be able to do that. And UPSC's trend shows that 85% don't last beyond their second attempt. If only 85% of these aspirants were resilient enough, this graph wouldn't look like this. It would probably be a straight line, right? Almost 25% aspirants would be first attempters. Most aspirants, again, they keep giving their second attempt, third attempt, and that's how it should actually go. But that's not how the graph looks like, right? People quit after second attempt. They get a lot of self-doubts. They start doubting their suitability for this process itself, right? And it's more painful and it's more damaging when very good writers like these aspirants. So this is an aspirant X who I had met in the year 2020, right? So she's a very good writer. She was going very fine in her journey. You can probably pause this video and have a look at this answer that she has written in 2020 or another answer written in the year 2021 by another student. They're all very good writers. I've seen people with lesser writing ability, people who have lesser speaking ability than these two aspirants. Let it be X, let this be Y. There are aspirants with lesser writing ability, speaking ability, but just because of their resilience, they were able to last this process till their fourth attempt, fifth attempt, and finally they end up getting into some service. But whereas this aspirant X, today she is employed in a corporate sector as a HR professional. And then there's another aspirant who went on to do her MBA program. Probably she would have graduated by now. But I'm very sure if only these two aspirants would have lasted till their second or third attempt, probably they would be in service today. But why did they quit? This aspirant had quit because the first prelims was so damaging to her self-esteem, to her self-worth about herself, right? When the cutoff happened to be around 85 marks, imagine you are getting only 55. So all that you thought about yourself, about your fitness for this exam, now starts getting questioned. And this aspirant, if she would be in a position where she couldn't even qualify her CSAT paper, that's a very big question mark again about whether she should even pursue this journey or not, right? But I would say that these two aspirants would not have quit if they would not have had this adverse feedback given by UPSC, because they ended up giving their attempt little premature, right? They were not ready enough. But then why did they have to give this attempt? That's exactly what we'll be discussing in today's discussion, because the same factors which would have forced them, which would have influenced them to appear premature in their respective prelims attempt, will also be the forces that will work on you as well, which will influence you as well to appear in Civil Service Exam 2026. And that's why you need to have a clear perspective about what are these external influences and how can you prepare yourself for that. So despite all of that, if you would want to give your attempt, that's up to you. But if you give your attempt, just understand that this is going to be the most important principle. Whether you give your 2026 attempt or not, Before the exam, prepare as if this is your last attempt. Give your best. But after the exam, take it as if it was simply your first attempt. Right? But the aspirants, usually they do the reverse. They prepare as if this is their very first attempt. Their preparation methods are incorrect. Their mindset is not really set to crack this exam. The kind of resources that they read is all very novice. It's all very beginner kind of a material that they read, because obviously that's their very first year. It's a year of experimentation, right? Even to understand whether the reading material that you read is all fit enough to match up to the standard of UPSC or not, you need to give at least 1 or 2 attempts. Only then you get that realization. Or you have to wait for 1 or 2 years, just without wasting your attempt, observe the trend of how UPSC asks its questions in prelims or not and mains, right? It's this observation after which you are actually ready to even give your first attempt. But what happens is, in the middle of this process, UPSC aspirants, they give their first attempt and they get totally heartbroken after that. They do not rise up successfully after that. And as you can see in that graph, majority of the aspirants, they cannot, their UPSC career is finished after their second attempt. They wouldn't be able to even have the mindset to last beyond their second year of preparation, right? So, whether you give your attempt in the year 2026 or not, understand this should be your mindset. Study till the month of May 2026. Study as if this is your last attempt, right? Study with conviction about your methods. After knowing what the right methods are, make sure your mains is also completed. That's what I meant by 2026 being your last attempt. If it's your last attempt, you will ensure that your mains preparation is complete before you even clear your prelims, because you cannot finish your mains preparation after you clear your prelims, right? And once your prelims is done, don't be too much dejected or depressed with the outcomes, right? Consider that as a learning experience. Do not do it in the reverse. All right. So, what are we going to discuss here? We are going to discuss about 5 different points. And it's all about a certain type of identification process that you have to start doing from here on, right? So you have to identify all the different pressures that you have to appear in the year 2026. If you are a beginner to preparation, if you have simply started, the first time you started reading newspapers and NCRTs in your life is from the year 2025 onwards, it is for you this video has been made, right? So identify all the pressures that are acting upon you. We'll discuss about that. Then start identifying yourself. Are you capable in the first place? Don't lie to yourself, right? Don't delude yourself into believing that you are fit enough, because your parents may not know the competition that's involved in this examination, but you would be knowing every year when you see the toppers, when you see their academic background, academic accomplishments. That should be a good reminder for you to understand where you stand if the competition is of a particular level, right? So identify whether you have the capacity or not, right? So I'll help you out with some pointers towards that as well. And try to ask yourself, what is such a pressing need? What is your compelling need that you have to clear within the next 1 year? Or are you imagining such a pressure on you, right? Do you really have that need? Or is it simply because you are under the mistaken belief that you must be cracking in the very first year, right? So let's have some ideas, some discussions on that as well. The next identification is about your methods, right? How do you spend your day on a daily basis? Is it simply monotonously reading the books, or is there something else that's going into it? Do you have a vision behind whatever time you spend reading? We'll have some discussions on that. And lastly, the point that needs to be discussed is about your preparedness for this examination. I'll shed some light on that as well. So these are the different aspects that we'll be discussing as a part of this discussion. So before we go forward, you need to actually understand from where all are you going to experiencing pressure in the upcoming next 1 year till 2026. What are those agents that are going to put pressure on you? It's first your parents, nobody else. Parents, many times they are well-meaning. They want the best to happen for their children, but they don't really know what is best for their child, right? And especially when they do not actually understand the nature of civil service examination, they become a double-edged sword. Sometimes they could be really a motivating factor, but many a times they can be a big drag on the aspirants, right? So simply because they are scared, You don't know what type of mental makeup the parents may actually have. You really do not know what type of an upbringing could have influenced your parents' outlook towards life, right? So many of the parents are fearful. They are worried. What if my child wastes year after year? So as a result of which they want to really, they cannot simply postpone or delay gratification. They want to know what the outcome is as early as possible, right? So that is the reason, because they are insecure. They are insecure for so many different reasons. We cannot make a complete study and analysis about what all makes a parent insecure, but it's their insecurity which actually acts as a pressure on you to go and appear, even though you may not be really prepared at all, right? Imagine which parent would want to put their son in a boxing bout, in a boxing match, or in a wrestling, in a fighting match, when they know that the son is not even in a position to defend or return a counter punch. Would any parent do that? No, they wouldn't. But why would they do that in the UPSC examination? Right? So that's why I would say parents are the biggest reasons for this undue, unnecessary pressure on aspirants. Right? So what can you do about it? Try to explain to them about the reality of this exam. Show them this graph. Tell them that hardly 10% make it in their very first attempt. Try to make sure that for the next 1 or 2 years, you don't have any unnecessary, unwarranted pressure being exerted by your parents. Because they don't actually understand this examination. Maybe if they would have appeared, no IAS officer or an IPS officer would want their child to crack in the very first attempt itself, nor would they want to even want their son to appear in their very first year itself. It's only those whose parents are not actually aware of the reality of this exam. They would be the ones who would actually keep on nudging their child to appear in the very first year of entering into preparation itself. Is it not very paradoxical? Somebody who has cracked this exam will never apply such a pressure on their children, but somebody who do not understand about this exam would want their child to appear in the very first year itself, right? So that's why you have to find out ways to shield yourself from the parental influence and parental pressure. Many times, especially mothers, they feel overconfident about their child's potential, right? So that's how they have groomed themselves, and they have conditioned themselves as well as other family members. I mean, which parent, which mother especially would want their child to be ridiculed, or would want their child to be accepted as if not so capable enough, right? So it's all very natural. It would be the same case with my mother as well as with your mother. So that's why this is a very, out of their love and concern for you, they may end up destroying your career, right? So find out ways to shield yourself from parents first. Next would be groups who are very similar to you, just 1 year into preparation or just 2 years into preparation. It's the same group who I mean by peers, right? Somebody who has cracked this exam wouldn't be nudging you to appear in your very first year itself, because they know it would be today when they look at their past, when they look back with the benefit of hindsight, they would have understood that the very first attempt that they made was a very foolish attempt. So somebody who has cracked this exam would never ever force somebody to go and just appear in their very first attempt. As you can see, 90% of those aspirants who crack this exam, they don't do it in their first attempt. So they would have realized that the first attempt was unnecessary. But how many such people who crack this exam do you happen to meet in your lives as a first year's aspirant? Do you really get an opportunity to meet aspirants who have cracked this exam only during the motivational lectures? And that one lecture cannot actually address all your concerns and doubts, right? So your own peer group, they have their own set of problems. They are either overconfident, because even during my days of preparation, many of my peer group, those students, they used to have great opinion about their own ability to crack this exam, right? They used to keep on repeating that to crack prelims, this is all that you need. To crack mains, this is all that it requires. But they have not even cracked a single prelims in their life. Such people with exaggerated sense of confidence about their own abilities, right? And many of your peers would be rash. Well, it's the hallmark, it's a sign of their youth, correct? Young, they just feel there is nothing much to lose. So their rashness would also make them give their very first attempt, correct? Or it could be desperation. They have their own reasons why they have to qualify at the earliest. correct? So when you are constantly under such an influence of your peers, you start believing that yes, you should also appear in the year 2026, despite knowing that you may not be really prepared enough, correct? And yeah, many of your peers would also have their own imaginations of what a successful attempt in prelims, how tasty it would be, how life-changing it would be, even if they could only clear the first prelims. But actually, just clearing one prelims is not going to be life-changing in any way, right? But it's all your assumptions, because that's how people who are inexperienced about this exam, who are simply in their very first year into this exam, they have all these issues, and you being influenced by them, you would also be forced unnecessarily to appear in your exam in 2026, though you may not be really prepared. And a few seniors of yours, okay, sometimes they may even take up the role of mentors as well, right? They would also be pushing you to give your first attempt in 2026, simply because they would want to appear as if their solutions that they give to you, the solutions that they promise to you, they would want you to imagine that it's going to yield results. And how can you be persuaded about the correctness of their methods? Only when they say that clearing prelims is easy, just follow my method, and in 2026 you are going to clear this prelims, right? They would want to sound hopeful, they would want to exaggerate their methods, as a result of which they could be convincing you to appear in the year 2026. Only when you appear, you really understand the reality, right? Or maybe some of your seniors, they might have cleared the very first prelims. Let's say it would have been in the year 2022 or 2023, just one success in prelims, but the next two prelims could have been a failure. So they may be under this impression, they may be under this illusion that for everybody it is possible to crack their very first prelims. No. Some lucky factors which may have worked out for them in the year 2023 may not have worked out for them in 24 and 2025. Or maybe they would have cleared with a very less margin of 1 mark or 2 marks, right? So you really cannot go to the depths of what would have helped some of your senior who cracked this exam really crack prelims. What helped them achieve that feat? You cannot go to those depths and analyze. That's why many a times these seniors, these mentors, their opinion on whether the exam can be cracked in 1 year or not, or clearing the prelims in the first year itself, it could all be a little exaggerated, right? You have to be watchful about this influence as well. And sometimes, yes, it can come from teachers. The problem with teachers is they really do not have the time to analyze every person individually in a very distinct manner and then give a personalized solution, right? So if something is possible, they would say that yes, even this is possible for you as well, right? Of course, 10% of aspirants who appear in this exam do crack it in their very first year. But what if you are in the next remaining 90%? Can a teacher with just one interaction, right? Even if someone were to come and ask me, sir, can I crack it in the first year? I would say yes, you can. But can that person specifically crack it or not? That needs a detailed analysis, right? So without getting into all your strengths and weaknesses, without knowing your CSAT skill set, without knowing how well you can write in your mains and what is your daily regimen of mains preparation, is your knowledge acquisition process some kind of a knee-jerk, ad hoc process, or is it really deep and foundational? Without getting into all that, and to get into a specific ability and skill set and profile of an aspirant, it's really difficult, because the student has to keep on interacting with the teacher. It's only by constant observation, such personalized impression and personalized opinion on whether a candidate is suitable to crack or not can even be mentioned correctly by a teacher. So do not mistake a teacher or a faculty or somebody who teaches you. If they were to say that yes, you can crack this exam in first attempt, it doesn't necessarily mean that they really mean it. Okay, it could simply be a generalized suggestion, may not really apply personally to every single aspirant, right? Or they may be quoting a few exceptions as examples, but understand, exceptions are just tail enders in a bell curve. Majority are here, right? So these are all the different ways how you would be under pressure, how you would be under influence to necessarily appear in the year 2026. All right. So understand this. Sometimes The pressure can be from yourself. You may be under this pressure. You may be pushing yourself to unnecessarily appear in the year 2026. And what could be the reason for that? Let's have a look at that. Maybe you are excessively fearful about sunk cost, right? What do I mean by sunk cost? Well, you are spending some time, 2 to 3 years into this preparation process. You are spending a lot of money, 2 lakhs for your coaching plus 2 lakhs every year for accommodation, food, right? So the clock is ticking, your money in the bank is draining, and your time is just going away. Correct? So, thinking about the future, you are fearful. You do not want to wait for the 3rd year to find out whether you are suitable for this exam or not. So somehow you want to find out whether you are suitable or not in the very first year itself. But what if this urge that you want to find out in the very first year itself is misplaced? It's incorrect. Because without even completing your preparation, then what are you even finding out? You're not actually going to find out anything, right? You have to make up your mind that yes, when you enter into this preparation process, it's going to take time, it's going to take some money. Find out ways to reduce expenditure. Find out ways to shift from Chennai or from Delhi or from those hubs of preparation. Why don't you shift back home if you feel you can save costs that way? Correct? So find out ways to reduce your cost, but there is no escaping from the fact that there is going to be some amount of time, money, energy that you will end up spending for this preparation process, right? I don't want to go into this motivational approach of telling you that all the time that you have invested is worth its effort and all that. It's up to every individual. They have different opinion and perspective about life. So I don't want to get into that. But let me assure you that if you're putting your sincere efforts into this process, you can definitely succeed in this exam one day. That I can assure you. But I don't know whether the time that you end up spending in this process, is it really worth or not? I don't think I should even be judgmental about it. But I have this confidence that if you do what is told to you properly, if you know what you're doing is right or wrong, and if you're constantly on course correction, so definitely one day you're going to crack this examination. That is for sure. If it's not sure, then I would not even be in this business of coaching and teaching you. So if it's not even sure, then I think people like me don't have any role to play in this process. So it's only with that belief that success is guaranteed with a certain pathway, I'm even advising you whatever I'm doing now. Right? So I would say that you really do not need that early success within 1 year. Understand that success can be delayed. Success, even if it's delayed, it's still fine. Because the average age of any IAS batch is around 26 years. Because there are a lot of doctors who enter in. Right? In my batch of 180 IAS officers, around 28 of us, they were doctors. Which means that the age of entry at the earliest would be 27 or 28. And many of the aspirants are masters. They would have done their graduation, then they would have done their post-graduation from some IIMs. Many IIM graduates make it to the service list. Or they would have done their masters in sociology, history, economics from some premier institutions. Right? So by the time they start appearing in their very first attempt, it would be 24 or 25. Correct? So understand, the average age of an IAS batch itself is 26 years. If you are only 21 or 22, then what is your pressure to crack in the next year itself? By the time you turn 23, why do you force yourself to think that you should have entered into IAS at 23 or 24? This pressure is what is going to be counterproductive, right? Even though sometimes what happens is parents may not give this pressure on you. Right? Your peer group may be sensible enough, but you may be under this mistaken impression that you should no matter crack this exam before 23. Why? Because somebody has told you that you will become a secretary only when secretary in the union government, only if you enter early. You can become a cabinet secretary of India only when you are 22 years old, when you enter civil service, when you crack civil service exam. Or somebody would have told you that you can only become a DGP of police if you enter into civil services before 24 years of age. Yes, it's all true, but let me tell you, by the time you become a DGP, you really won't be even cherishing this post, right? Because by then you are old, you are mature enough, you have other heart issues to take care of. At that time, when you really become a DGP of a state police or when you become the secretary of the union government, you are more concerned about your son or daughter cracking civil service exam than you becoming a DGP or a secretary, right? Life changes. Your priorities change. What gave you happiness in 22 will not give you happiness when you are 60. Right? So do not, without having a broader scope of vision about life itself, do not try to pressurize yourself into believing that this exam has to be cracked in 23 or 24 years of age. No. Just keep giving your best. Not everybody can crack at 23 or 24 because a lot of things have to do with what you have been in your past. What was your past before this attempt? What was your life in the last 22 years? What kind of educational rigor had gone into your study methods? Have you been very perseverant always as a student or not? Many things, and many things were beyond your control as well, right? If your family has not been very privileged like many other competitors of yours, they could not have given you the best of the education, correct? So it's not your mistake, but even you have a chance of cracking, just that it's going to take some time, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years, correct? So make up your mind. If you can only make up your mind about all these realities, you wouldn't pressurizing yourself to appear in Civil Service Exam 2026. Every aspirant is unique. You have your unique life circumstances that has shaped you to what you are today, right? So do not have all these as your priorities. It need not be everybody's priorities, right? And there is nothing to feel jealous about somebody who has cracked in the year 20, when they are 23 years old, get into IAS, right? Because why are you even jealous about them? Because what if they do not even value the day when they become a DGP or secretary? For them, it could be just be one more posting. Who knows? They may be under total pressure by the time they become a DGP, that their mind would simply be waiting for the day when they are going to retire from this civil services itself, correct? So life is a big question mark. So don't be under all these mistaken impression that all of these should also be factored in. No. So no two individuals are the same, right? So now start identifying yourself. Do you really have the capacity for success in 1 year or not, right? If you have started your preparation in 2025, 2026 May you appear in your prelims, and in the month of September you appear in mains. Do you really have the capacity to push through all of this and achieve success finally or not? This is something that you have to sit and analyze on your own, right? So what has been your past educational training in your school days? Let's say you were preparing for your 10th board exams or 12th board exams or your college semester exams. Have you been the studious type, right? When I say the studious type, it simply means they are the ones who did not give up when a mathematics problem was difficult. They did not look for some guides to memorize, whereas they were just working out again and again until they have found out the right method of cracking a problem, right? So were you of that type? Or there are also students who would simply take PPTs in their phone and just copy in their exam, somehow crack semester exams in colleges, right? So none of those methods are going to work in this examination, okay? So you could have graduated in your college by all these foul methods, by all these manipulations, and still you could have even got some 8 CGPA, right? But that method that has gone in, the means are not correct. And it's only the right means which can give you outcomes in this examination. So that's why, what was your past educational training like? Were you allowed to give up? Sometimes it can also be the role of parents as well, right? So even when you would have wanted to give up, if your parents did not allow you to give up, if they were like, no, go for tuitions, spend more time, have sleepless nights working out, be studious, if they were instrumental in developing a proper study method in you, I would say that yes, you are capable, because you know what it takes. Why do you think many IITians and many students from premier colleges in this country, they end up cracking civil service exam? Simply not because they are too talented than others, just because they know not how not to give up, how to keep on finding ways of getting things that they really want, right? So that's why I say it's a function of your past educational training. So the type of rigor, the type of efforts that you have convinced yourself to put in, because when you put in certain methods and finally you emerge successful in your school examinations, you become the district topper or you crack IIT JEE. Now you're able to understand and cherish the correctness of your methods, right? It's the conviction of the correctness of the efforts that you have put in, which will keep on, it's like a compounding effect. And you put more and more efforts, and that gives better success. With better success, you get more reasons to work harder. So it's more like a rewarding mechanism. Have you already developed the rewarding mechanism in your life? If you have, then yes, you can probably be in the 10% who crack this exam in their first attempt, right? And this is an exam which needs some kind of an intense competitiveness, right? You cannot simply take things easy in this exam. If somebody is better than you in performing in the class when discussions happen, if somebody knows things that you are not better, that you're not aware of, you should not be at peace. You should not take it easy. You should simply be worried as to why were you unable to recollect it. That level of competitiveness in your personality itself is very, very important for cracking this examination, right? And there are certain traits. If you have been very enthusiastic about participating in a lot of quiz competitions in your school days, some kind of competitions, something that puts you against others, something that makes you test whether you're better than others or not. That element of competitiveness is also required. I'm not saying it is required to crack this exam itself. I'm simply saying it's required for success in the next 1 year itself, right? If you have not been doing all of that, it doesn't mean that you cannot crack this exam, just that your success will be delayed by another 1 year or another 2 more years. And how good are you with writing and speaking? Have you been writing essays? Have you written any essays and got it published, let's say in your college monthly magazine or something of that sort? Or have you been in the practice of writing blogs, maintaining journals? Or in your own self-assessment, do you really feel that you are creative enough to write and speak well? Yes, if you fit into that category, yes, you can crack within the next 1 year. If not, it takes some time to develop it. So another 2 or 3 more years. And let's say you started your preparation in the month of May 2025. But what were you doing before that? Have you been in the regular habit of reading Hindu newspaper? Or were you completing one NCRT after the other? Some kind of a meaningful skill building activity, was it going on before you joined the classes? If this is all, yes, in that case, yes, you can crack this exam in the next 1 year itself. If not, again, a couple more years, right? So these are all certain things that you have to sit and think about. How studious have you been in your past? Did you really have a never give up attitude in your life or not? Right? Have you been very intensely, fiercely competitive or not? Right? And have you been proficient in communicating your ideas, your thoughts? How good were you with respect to writing and speaking? Correct? So these are all factors which is going to influence, or which are going to really play a role in your success in the next 1 year. All right. So start identifying whether you have it in you or not. If not, should you give your attempt in the year 2026? It's up to you. Because again, if you feel that even though you may miserably fail with 40 marks in your prelims, failing with 30 marks in your CSAT, do you have the confidence you will rise up and still pursue your journey for 2027? If yes, please give your attempt. I don't have anything against people who would want to give attempt early without preparation. But my only concern is, if you can promise me that you will not quit this preparation process when you face against such a damaging failure in 2026. That's the whole point. So let's move on. Once you have identified your capability, now start identifying your methods, right? Your methods should not be ad hoc. What do I mean by ad hoc methods? Let's say you attend a class, a polity class. So let's say you are not able to understand the entire idea of judicial activism. Now what would you do? You go to some senior, the senior recommends to you some reading material. You simply read it. Why? You are trying to offset your deficiency, your inability to understand and comprehend a topic when you read a good book. Okay, when you read a good resource like D.D. Basu, which is more useful to mains than Lakshmikant. or when you read some complex PDF or a reading resource that shapes your thinking process. If you're unable to do that, now you start looking for alternatives, and there are so many people to promise you so many alternatives, and such alternatives, if you start running towards it every time when you face a difficult topic, right? It's like giving a quick dose of happiness, but is it going to be long lasting? Is it going to be really skill building? You don't think about all that. Why? Somehow you want to offset your present deficiencies. That's what I mean by ad hoc methods of preparation. You're not looking into the long term. You're not looking foundationally. You're simply building a superstructure without any foundation, and that's all going to collapse when you face your first prelims or mains, right? So when you're running and when your methods are driven more by desperation than by correctness, when you're more concerned about short term than the long term, right? When you have not figured out anything about this exam yourself, all your inputs, all your opinion about how you crack this exam is all borrowed from others. These are all not correct methods, right? So if your methods are out of desperation, if you feel that you're studying a material in the first place simply because you're unable to understand something better and standard and often referred by toppers in year after year, if that's beyond your retaining capacity, if that's beyond your learning and understanding capacity, and that is what makes you go towards a certain kind of a study and reading method, you may actually need more years into preparation. Correct? That's another yardstick to measure whether you're suitable for 2026 prelims or not. You may not really be suitable. Why? Because these are the problematic methods that you are following. Whereas if your methods are very foundational, right? What do I mean by foundational? They help you clear every single prelims that you appear in. They help you clear every single mains that you appear in. They help you clear every single personality test that you appear in. This has been my philosophy, and I have faced such success. Whatever prelims I appear was a success. Whatever mains was a success. Personality test was a success. Why? Simply because my methods were foundational, right? And what are these foundational methods? This is not something that I can clarify in this interaction. This is the sum total of all my strategy videos that I have been sharing on my channel. So if you have been regularly watching and following all my videos, you actually get an understanding of what I mean by methods being foundational. Are your methods functional? What do I mean by functionality? Right? So in my understanding, whatever time that I spend investing on a material, or whatever time I spend investing on a reading material or a resource, it should help me in multiple ways. I'm not happy if a material is only useful for a one topic in prelims alone. I don't want to read that material. I want to absorb information. I want to learn something which I can plug and play in across multiple stages of this examination. Right? That's what I meant by functional. It should either serve as an introduction for a polity answer, or it should be serving as a beautiful point in the body of a history answer, or it should somehow serve as something inspirational when I write my essay. That would be the kind of content that I would actually read, right? So that's what I mean by functional. I don't want to waste time on minimal usage material. I want to have something that's just repeatable, universally applicable across all papers, correct? It's a mindset issue. It's not about the reading material. It's all about how you approach a reading material. And have you figured out something original? Okay. Though you may learn a lot from my videos, though you may learn a lot from many of the inputs that are given to you by your peers, what is that makes your preparation something distinct to yourself, right? For example, when I was preparing, writing summary of Hindu editorials was something that was very original to me. I don't remember many of my friends doing that, even though they have also cracked this exam. But writing summaries of editorials was something that's very unique to me because it was empowering me. It was making me a better writer. It was making me a better speaker with time. Have you something original in your armory? Have you figured out something that only you can do it? If these are all a yes, you can even crack Civil Service Exam 2026 itself. If this is not there, you may have to wait for a few more years until all these develop. Then why would you give your attempt in 2026 and feel depressed and push yourself out of this race after 26? Correct? Wait for some time. You don't have to give 2026 prelims. And lastly, when it comes to preparedness, now is not the time to decide. You have to prepare as if you're giving your attempt in 2026 prelims. But in the month of May, now you take a call whether should you appear in 2026 or not. That's not a call to take today, right? So that's the point. Even though I may be talking about all of this, whether you have to appear in 2026 prelims or not is a call that you should be taking in the year 2026, not today. Right? Because it's only when you start giving your test series, you'll understand whether all your strategies that you have been observing slowly, all that, is it going to help you in getting the minimum threshold of questions right or wrong across subjects? And are you prepared for all subjects? I don't need students who are only prepared with polity or geography. I want somebody who's decently prepared across all the subjects, because you will not even know which subject will come to your help on the day of your prelims examination, right? So in the month of May, test yourself. Are you decently prepared, 80% prepared across all subjects? Are your elimination methods, are your strategies helping you once your test series start from March onwards? Keep observing, and by the month of May, take a call whether you would want to appear in 2026 or not. Right? So I hope I have given you some clarity on the question. If you were, so I hope I have given sufficient clarity whether you have to appear in 2026 prelims or not, if this is going to be your first attempt. If it's going to be simply just 1 year into your preparation process, do you really have to appear in the exam or not? I hope I have shed some clarity on that. I'll meet you in another discussion. So until then, thank you.